In what would have been the top story from the Supreme Court today, a 5-4 decision, the justices ruling against public sector unions in the case of an Illinois state government employee, Mark Janus. He didn't want to be forced to pay union fees to an organization whose political messages he may or may not support. It's a decision that could impact millions of public sector employees just like him. Mark Janus and his attorney, Jacob Hubert, join us now in a Fox News at Night exclusive. Welcome back, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Mark, how do you feel? Has it sunk in? You took on this fight. It takes years to get through this process, and a win today for you at the Supreme Court.
It's starting to. It's a bit overwhelming, to have a decision, such as we received today. Is just so fantastic for public sector workers, such as myself in 22 different states. And the fact that they now have a choice. They have a choice to make their own decisions instead of having something like this forced upon them, such as these agency fees and dues.
All right. Justice Alito, writing for the 5-4 majority, said this procedure violates the First Amendment and cannot continue this collecting of the union fees. Neither an agency fee nor any other payment to the union may be deducted from a non-member's wages, nor may any other attempt be made to collect such a payment unless the employee affirmatively consents to pay. Jacob, they went as far as to say, it's not an opt-out situation now. Employees have to opt in if they want to be involved and pay money to the union.
Right. That's huge. In some states, like California, people who take certain government jobs are just automatically in the union unless they figure out the fact that they can quit and figure out how to quit. Now, it's not going to work that way. Now, you're only in the union and only paying those union dues if you specifically choose to do that.
Okay, now the left was upset. Let's start, first of all, with the left side of the bench. Justice Kagan, in her dissent, said this: the decision will have large-scale consequences. Public employee unions will lose a secure source of financial support. She went on later to say the majority has chosen the winners by turning the First Amendment into a sword and using it against workaday economic and regulatory policy. Mark, for you, this was all about the First Amendment and whether or not you could be forced to use your money to subsidize someone else's political message.
Exactly, because the First Amendment gives me that right of free association. And unfortunately, with the forced fees that I had to pay, I didn't have that freedom of association. I was told what I had to do in order to work for the government. And if I didn't pay, I didn't have a job.
Well, and the DNC reacting this way. They say attacking unions is one of the most powerful tactics in the Republican playbook to enrich their wealthy friends at the expense of working people. In fact, Republicans are so determined to undermine workers that they held a Supreme Court seat hostage for nearly a year in order to nominate an aggressively anti-union justice. Make no mistake, the nomination of Neil Gorsuch was first and foremost about winning the Janus case and taking rights away from workers. Jacob, how do you respond to that?
I don't think that was the only factor at play there, but it's strange to say that this case is about billionaires when the plaintiff in this case is a man, Mark Janus, who is not a billionaire. And what we've had in this country is a scheme where unions have been taking money from workers like Mark to enrich themselves. And we're just saying those workers should have a choice. And if they want to support a union, that's great. But if they don't, they should have the option not to. We're restoring fairness here. Unions have had an unfair advantage where they've been able to take money from people who don't want to pay it, which nobody else in politics can do. This just creates a situation where, like everybody else, they have to get by on money that people will give them voluntarily.
Mark, what was it that made you feel like you wanted to step up on this issue and not be forced to channel your money without your choice?
Well, I was seeing the politics that the union was conducting in Illinois and elsewhere. I was also seeing the fact that, my money was going to positions that I just did not agree with completely. And the fact that when I tried to get an accounting of where my money was going, it was just not available. It was nebulous. And yeah, they gave us some information, but it was so vague. You could almost interpret it any way you wanted to. And so therefore, I'm thinking, why am I supporting this? And why am I being forced to support something that I just don't agree with? And that goes to the point of, not only policy, but we're also looking at the collective bargaining process itself and the lack of transparency in that whole process.
Well, this case overturns a 40-plus-year-old Supreme Court precedent that's been relied on for unions for 4 decades now. So because of you guys, history has been changed. And again, would have been our top story. It's a huge case. But last we talked was before the retirement announcement, and it's good to see you again after it.
Good to see you. Thanks. Good to see you.
Thanks for having us.